Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. Hope you're all having yourselves a fantastic day today on a beautiful Thursday. We are inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, and you can see right underneath there, CafeKubal.com is your place to get all your information on their home delivery as well as their mobile cafe and neighborhood cafes. Cafe Kubal proudly bringing you every opportunity that they possibly can to make it easy to interact with them and get the flavors that you love from the local place that you trust and appreciate. The home delivery for Onondaga County is free, as well as the mobile cafe gives you an opportunity to have Cafe Kubal come to you, come to your location, come to your place of business or your neighborhood. And then, of course, the neighborhood cafes are there for you at the Golisano Children's Hospital, as well as 3501 James Street, 208 North Townsend Street in the new Holly Green Cafe, 401 South Salina Street, and on 324 West Water Street, all in Syracuse, New York. So make sure you head off to Cafe Kubal today. Let them know that Wake Up Call sent you and get one of your favorites. And if you've never been there, well, then, try something new and give yourself an opportunity to see what you like and see what you go for. I love their chai as well as a chocolate chip cookie. I'm a simple guy. Go in there, get my chai, my chocolate chip cookie. I'm set for the day. So make sure you head off to Cafe Kubal today. Inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, we have plenty of great show coming up for you. We have two fantastic guests taking his post up every Thursday morning. In hour number one is Papa Joe. He'll be joining us inside of Mon-Fi's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory's What's Poppin' in just a second, with plenty to discuss, including the Jacksonville Jaguars as he's down there in the Sunshine State. I guess some people believe that they were tanking for Trevor, thought that there was no way that they could possibly win the game, thought that they had nothing good going on, yada, 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 yada. I'm listening to the game, and they're saying that the team was done when it was 14-7 and only a touchdown of separation. So PJ and I will have a conversation that is logical, rational, and might possibly say something positive about Jacksonville. God forbid anybody does that in America, but we will. So we'll talk about the Jaguars, we'll talk about the NFL as a whole, and we will take a look at the fact that the Big Ten kind of went out there and made a, I called it like going to a party. The Big Ten said, oh yeah, I know there's a party at Steve's house today, but we're not going to go to Steve's house because if we don't go, nobody will go because we're the cool kids. So they don't go to the party. And then they get text messages, and they're on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram seeing that Steve's party's still going on. People are having fun. And somebody's flirting with the girl that they like at Steve's party. And so now all of a sudden the Big Ten wants to be at the party, and they want to be involved. So because they know that Stacy's talking to somebody now, and they want an opportunity, and Stacy's that college football playoff. So now knowing that that is going on, the Big Ten is jumping back into the party. They got the text messages, they got the pictures, and now they're trying to run back in. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit. And we will also discuss our Week 3 college football picks as we make those. And then in hour number 2 in Mon-Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory's What's Poppin', I will be rejoined by someone who has been on the show before when he was being recruited. Now he's coming on the show for the first time ever as a verbal commit to Syracuse, and that is Enrique A. Cruz Jr. out of Illinois, left tackle, joining the show. Syracuse getting a lot of linemen, which is perfect because that's been a big question mark these last couple seasons is the offensive line. They're going out there and addressing the issue. They've gone as far as Hawaii, and Enrique A. Cruz, they went out to Illinois as Syracuse continues to make that Midwest connection. Enrique will be joining the show in just a little bit at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. So with that being said, let's bring the man of the hour in. PJ, how we doing?
Good morning, Daniel. Everything's fine down here. Dodged another hurricane, which is great. I feel sorry for the Gulf Coast people, though. They got nailed again. Just a disastrous effects. It's terrible to even look at the Weather Channel and see all that stuff, but, you got to pray and keep going. Everything will be all right.
Here with Papa Joe this morning, and hopefully, God willing, as always, you all stay safe down there. What can you say about you're very close to Jacksonville down there, in the Sunshine State. So what can you tell me about what you saw, what you read? Was it as bad down there as it was, nationally, the people that were saying that this team is tanking for Trevor Lawrence, this team, is getting rid of everybody, they don't care, they don't want to win? What was all of the negative news for the Jaguars, was that happening down there in the northern Florida area as well, or was it different?
Oh, somewhat. The Jaguars got a plan. They got Caldwell and Brown have got a plan to go young, and they've determined to do that, and they're pushing all their chips in, which is why we got 16 rookies on the team, and the average age is, I don't know, something in the mid-20s or something like that. I mean, they're going through a youth movement, and with doing that, you got to be able to hit the home runs and the drafts, and I think they have. They got two guys they drafted last year that are going to tear things up, and that's C.J. Henderson and Laviska Shenault, and he's going to be a killer. I'll tell you about that later. Frankly, I'm glad to see the pundits start eating a little bit of crow. It hasn't gotten any better because the Jaguars are 11-point underdogs against Tennessee this week. So, they just maybe they said, well, give the kids credit. They won the game. Minshaw's all over the place. They're doing a good job. The defense played okay. So they lucked out on the first game against a really, really good Indianapolis team with Phillip Rivers. So, we'll just let the pundits go ahead and talk right now, and they're let them have their opinion, and we'll see. We'll see.
When you hear this whole tanking for Trevor before the season even starts, people in the media saying Jacksonville doesn't care, they're just trying to get the number one pick. How did you react to that?
I didn't read a lot about that stuff because the kids know, or the guys know, that once they started playing and started getting close to Minshew, that he's the guy that's going to lead them. And, Caldwell and Marone are indebted to this guy for what he did last year. I mean, he pulled him out of the trap last year. I mean, he won 6 out of 12 games and probably could have won a couple of more. He's just a smart guy, and he knows how to play the game. He learned from one of the best in Mike Leach at Washington State. He knows the game, and he just sops up knowledge. I mean, he's like a sponge, and he'll sit in the quarterback meetings or in the OC meetings and the any kind of meetings they have. And Brown said he just sits there and he just writes notes all the time. He sops up everything, and that's why they win. Now, can they win all their games? Of course not. Can they win most of their games? Probably not. Can they win half of their games? I would like to see that. But the pundits are just eating a little bit of crow right now, and I'm glad to see that. And as for Trevor Lawrence, he's a remarkable young man and going to be a heck of a quarterback for whoever gets him. But it's not going to be Jacksonville because Minshew's not going to throw in any flunkers. That's just not the way he plays the game. And he plays the game conservatively safe. You complete 19 out of 20 passes. You go for 170 something yards. I mean, that's not a lot of yardage. But he didn't have any shots down the field. So I like what they're doing. They're conservative. I like what I'm seeing, and especially I'm a little disappointed in the fans. I mean, they were supposed to have been. I think they allotted something like 17,000 fans to watch the game. I think it was 25% of capacity or something like that. And only 14,000 showed up. And if you look at the games this last weekend through wherever you watched, they pan around the stadium, and you got some people here, some people here, some people here. Everything's all spread out. I mean, it looks so weird. But I'm happy for the kids. They're doing a good job. And as for Trevor Lawrence, I don't believe he's going to be a Jaguar. So let's just leave it at that. Let these young men learn under Marone, and let them function on the field as best as they can with a really solid leader in Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, and I think honestly, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, I had them at 6-10 with Leonard Fournette, and I feel comfortable at this point still keeping them there at 6-10, somewhere around that. I think we did our power rankings, you and I, Papa Joe, for the first time ever, did our NFL power rankings and preseason rankings going into the season, and people could check those out, and I'll make sure that I put links up for that here today. But, the NFL power rankings for us, I have the Jets in last place, and I have, the Raiders right there with them. I think the Raiders, who do love drafting, I mean, who doesn't love getting a Clemson player the way they've been playing lately, but John Gruden, since coming to the Raiders, has been going after those Clemson players and really, spending those picks on them. So I think the Raiders are going to have a tough season. I know that they got a win against the Carolina Panthers in a game that was a shootout, 34-30 on the road. So they got their first win as the Vegas Raiders and their first chance as the Vegas Raiders. But ultimately, I think if somebody's going to get Trevor Lawrence, that's where I think he's going. And so, I mean, that's just my statement on it. That's my look to it. That's what I think is going to happen. But, this whole tanking for this and tanking for that, I think it's really interesting because I had Joe Theismann, Super Bowl champion Joe Theismann, on the show, and him and I were talking about tanking a few years back. And he said, if you tank, if you're a team and you tank, he said you should be left on a deserted island where you belong for your stupidity. And I'm paraphrasing, but he said along the lines of, you should be left on an island for your stupidity. And, the reality of that is, you think about it. If a team is tanking, if that was actually a thing and a team was doing that, you got to think about the fact, like, this is your career. Some people might never play again. This might be their last season. They might get hurt. We're looking at the fact that, the fans are coming out. They want to be a part of it. And so, if you spend a season doing something like that, the effects that it can have on people's careers, the effects that it could have on the city that they're in, the effects that it could have on the franchise, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it that it really doesn't make any sense to tank, and so, some people say this happens and that happens, and I don't deny that maybe a team doesn't care if they lose at a certain point, depending on where we look in history. Maybe we can argue that stuff, but the Jacksonville Jaguars, you have Gardner Minshew, he does not want to lose. If you look at that post-game speech that he had in the locker room, if you look at last season, when they're in the locker room and they had barely won a few games, and it's like the second to last week, and they get a victory, and you hear him, you would have thought that this team was one game away from winning the division or going to the playoffs. So, Gardner is not the quarterback to have if you want to lose. And, and to just brush over Gardner and go, they're going for Trevor Lawrence. This isn't the Cleveland Browns. This isn't a team that changes their quarterback every 15 seconds. So, the reality of it all is people need to understand that just because somebody says it in the media doesn't make it true. And unfortunately, somebody creates a narrative and they hold on to that narrative, which is ridiculous. I think this Jacksonville Jaguars team is going to fight. Now, did they surprise me in week 1? Yes. Did I pick them to win against the Colts? I did. Do I think they're going to defeat the Titans? I would love to see them do it. I don't have them winning this game. But at the end of the day, to hear that this Jacksonville Jaguars team was going to lose when it was 14-7, to hear the game was out of reach when it was a touchdown of separation, and to hear that they don't even care about the season and they're just trying to lose, and then, when those two LA spots opened up, I got the, people were asking me, that's got to be Jacksonville. That's got to be Jacksonville. They're leaving, right? And then the overseas, that's got to be them. They got to be going overseas, right? Every chance people get, Jacksonville's leaving, they don't like the city, they don't do this, they don't do that. And I look at people like they have 9 heads, and I go, why would they put all this money in? Why would they buy $65 million boards? Why would they want their stadium to have the biggest boards in the country? Why would they, be building Daly's Place? Why would they be changing the whole pier and what everything looks like there? Why would they go through all this trouble? Then they don't become an LA team. Now they're going to go to England, Dan. Now it's a definite. Anytime there's some type of bad news, people go, it's got to be Jacksonville. It's got to be Jacksonville. And I think it's funny because, it's like up here with the Buffalo Bills, you hear stuff like that. You hear when there's negative stuff and people want to get down and whatnot. But Jacksonville just seems to be, in a lot of people's minds, that team to beat up on. And I think that people like Gardner Minshew thrive off of that. And I hope that Jacksonville continues to shut people up because, it's unfortunate that this is a franchise that's been called, the worst franchise at professional sports, cumulative, anywhere in America. It's the team, like I said, that's always being brought up when it comes to moving or folding or whatever. And I don't hear a lot of good news when it comes to Jacksonville. And there are a lot of teams that lose. And there are a lot of teams that are in worse shape. And there's franchises like the Cleveland Browns that haven't been able to figure anything out since they came back in '99. So, as one of, well, probably many rappers that I listen to have said this, but one of the famous lines, Papa Joe, and I'll tell you this with Jacksonville, what they should say is, keep my name out your mouth like you don't know me.
That's good. Yep. Well, we're treading in the right direction. There's a lot of things to talk about the game.
Yeah.
They showed up to play the game. These guys are going to play. I mean, but that's the kind of runner he is. Miles Jack and Schobert played really solid defense, and they're really going to have to show up with this guy, because if he breaks the line of scrimmage, he's going to come right at these guys, and he probably outweighs both of these guys. But Miles Jack and Schobert, I don't think they're very big guys, maybe 240 or so. And when you got someone like Derrick Henry coming at you, you're going to start praying. So, Jack was everywhere this last week. He loves being on the outside. He's marvelous at the way he goes from sideline to sideline. He's extremely fast for a linebacker. He made 11 tackles. Schobert stuck up the middle. He made 8 tackles. And those guys are going to be really tested this week against a very physical Tennessee Titans team. Their coach, Mike Vrabel, who I loved watching him play when he was with the Grumpy Lobster Boat captain up there in New England. Vrabel knows how to play the game. He doesn't insult anyone. He always gives kudos to someone. He went on record this week saying, look, the Jaguars are a real good team. They played well last week. They're clicking under Minshew. He's a good leader. He's not going to say anything. He's not going to give any bulletin board material to anyone. So, he's saying that to maybe put the Jags at ease, but he's also trying to fire up his own guys. So we'll see what Mr. Vrabel's got in tag for him. Knowing the way he plays, he's a defensive-minded coach. He's probably going to blitz Minshew. He's probably going to stunt. He's going to do all sorts of weird things to keep him off balance. But we'll see. Vrabel is a really smart guy, a real smart coach, and he's another coach that can get his team to play for him, just like Marone. Marone's he's had a bad rap, including this guy, myself. I haven't given him the kind of credit that he deserves over the years. It's hard to play in Jacksonville because they never really had all the talent. It's supposed to be a minor league area, and they shouldn't deserve a franchise. Everything you hear about Jacksonville is always negative, and we've already pointed that out several times in the last several years. We've always pointed that out. But Barone managed to get his guys to play, just like Vrabel gets his guys to play, and we'll see what happens this week. I'm excited for the team. I want to see what Minshew can do away from the confines of Jacksonville and see if he can get the guys going. But I did tell you a month ago, I said the news coming out of the camp was that Laviska Shenault is a grade A football player. This kid is a beast. He's going to be able to take over games. He's big, he's strong, and he's fast. And Minshew's going to love to throw to him in traffic. So, he played a really good game this last week. I think he caught 3 passes and 1 was a touchdown. And they can move him everywhere. They can flank him wide. They can put him in the slot. He can put him in motion. He's just a beast. I mean, he's a big man, a big, fast, strong man. And I'm looking for Minshew to look for him when he gets in trouble. You could find him as his little safety blanket instead of maybe going to a tight end or something like that.
Yeah, and when it comes down to it with Jacksonville, like we were talking about, obviously their upcoming matchup against the Tennessee Titans is going to be an interesting one because they are a highlight reel unfortunately, they're on the wrong side of the highlight reel for the Tennessee Titans, Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry seemingly having himself a good day when it happens. And then I did a story a few years back that was kind of crazy when I was I was going through and writing about the Titans, and I got some information about Jacksonville and Tennessee going up against each other. And Papa Joe, I don't know if you know this, but the majority of the now Tennessee has Jacksonville's number overall, but the majority of the time that the Jacksonville Jaguars play the Tennessee Titans on Sundays, they lose. When they beat them in recent history, it's typically when they play them on one of those other days. You know, if they play them on a Thursday, maybe there's a Saturday game. But the funny thing about Jacksonville is if you want to beat Tennessee, it's usually a better chance on Thursday Night Football than it is playing them on a Sunday. So they struggle with playing them on a Sunday, and it's just kind of some weird information. But they do play them on a Sunday this week in week 2. And, you know, Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry and company gutted it out in an ugly Monday night, 2 ugly Monday night games. And 16-14, they get the victory on the road at Denver to make them 1-0. The Jaguars are 1-0. Whoever wins this game will lead the division because the Colts lost to Jacksonville and the Texans obviously lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. So kind of interesting here, Papa Joe, that I know it's only early on, but, you know, these are the 2 1-0 teams, and whoever wins is going to be leading the division. Do you like seeing early divisional games? Do you like, you know, having these divisional matchups that, like I say, count twice instead of just counting as 1 win or 1 loss? It almost counts twice for you because it's divisional. Do you like seeing these games this early in the season?
Yes, I do. I think it's a good measuring stick for the coaches. I think they can go back to the drawing board and fix what's happening. You're right about the Jaguars and the Titans. They don't have a good record against them. I think the last time they won in Tennessee was something like 2013 or something like that, a long time ago. But with playing a team like Tennessee early, you get a pretty good idea what Tennessee's going to throw at them. And we've discussed this. They will throw Derrick Henry at the Jaguars, period. Tannehill he'll do his thing in the backfield and fake this and clear out here and do this, try to keep the Jaguars off balance. But they're going to get a heavy dose of Derrick Henry, and that's they got to stop the run. I mean, let me put it this way: if the rest of the teams are watching this game this weekend, and the Jaguars don't stop Derrick Henry, then the rest of the teams are going to say, "Hey, we're going to run on Jacksonville. We're going to run on Jacksonville," and that's simply. That's good reconnaissance right there. So you know they just have got to stop the run, and they got to do it early in the game. They got to shake up Henry a little bit, do something to keep him up. Once he gets his shoulder squared and gets through the line of scrimmage, God forbid trying to tackle that guy. So as the teams play early in the year, sure they're going to play each other twice. Maybe it's good to play once early and once late, something like that, but. You know, you get a good idea where you stand when you play a good team like Tennessee early.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking here with Papa Joe in the first hour, Papa Joe's always here with us every Thursday at his normal post at 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, minimally here on the broadcast. So very, very much appreciate having Papa Joe here as we are discussing the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we'll take a look at the NFL as a whole. Let's go to another place in the NFL. Leonard Fournette said that he's happy he finally has a quarterback. I think Tampa's kind of waiting to see if they have a running back. 5 carries for 5 yards. It was, what do you think about Leonard Fournette's debut as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer?
You had to ask me that. I think he's a pain in the ass, Daniel, and I'm glad he's not with the team. Maybe Brady can get something out of him, but he didn't look quick. He didn't look fast. He didn't look like anything. He was stopped at the line of scrimmage. Very rarely did he get past the line of scrimmage. 5 yards, and you say 5 yards and 5 carries. I don't know if he completed a pass. I don't care really. I was just more or less watching Brady the whole time. But there's a lot of egos in the NFL, and it has to be. There has to be that way. You have to be the alpha male if you're going to play football. That's for sure. And he just hasn't figured out that there's a betas and there's other alphas besides his big alpha. His big alpha. I was surprised they even put him in a game because I thought that signing him so late that he couldn't learn whatever he needed to learn. Maybe they're hurting the running back too, but I don't want to see the guy get hurt, obviously, but I'm glad he screwed up. You know, if he wants to look at a guy like Gardner Minshew and say, "I'm glad I finally got a quarterback." Now, of course, you can't compare Minshew with Brady, but that's not the right thing to say. I mean, geez, you know, give an opinion, but don't come out with something like that to think it's a fact. It's not a fact. He's an idiot, and he's always going to be an idiot. And I'm glad he's not an idiot here.
You know, and good note there. You know, glad if he's going to be an idiot, like glad he's not an idiot in Jacksonville. It makes sense. I mean, obviously, I wish nothing bad on Leonard Fournette. I was really excited to have him to come to Jacksonville, and you know, I thought that he was going to be the next franchise back, and that there was going to be a lot of good to come from that. And I thought between him and Fred Taylor, I know there was Maurice Jones-Drew, but I was never really sold on that. So I thought, you know, this is going to be a great opportunity for Jacksonville to build on something. And I thought they could repair that marriage, but apparently they could not. So, but, you know, when you're leaving a place, leave with some dignity, and he did not. So, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, have I worked with the best people in the world? No. But when I leave a place, I leave with respect, I leave with my head held high, and I leave with kindness in my heart and my best wishes to those people. I'm not a mean person. I'm not a hateful person, because it doesn't help you. And what if I've learned anything about the world, and if anybody's learned anything that's wronged me, is you find people again, and you know they come across you again, and it's funny how you know what'll happen when somebody needs you years after they said some things, did some things. Now all of a sudden it's like they want you to totally forget about it because they need you now. So I'd rather be the person that somebody comes back to saying, you know what? Even though I did this, this, and this, they always respected me. They always treated me well. You know, I knew deep down that they were a good person. And, you know, I mean, am I perfect? Absolutely not. And nobody is. But, you know, Leonard Fournette kind of, you know, the way that he left Jacksonville, he'll never be back in Jacksonville. And, you know, that's, you got to hope that it works out somewhere else. But, you know, my whole thing is I respect you. And if you're disrespectful, if you're not, like if I was a GM and I'd be like, listen, Leonard, you know, we couldn't work it out, and I hope the best for you. I hope that things get better, you know, and I'm not saying that Leonard did this, but if somebody turned around and gave me the middle finger, I'd be like, all right, you know, okay, you know, I hope you never need me again. So it's one of those things where they always tell you don't burn your bridges, and if you're going to burn them, blow them up. And, you know, Leonard blew his up, Jalen Ramsey blew his up. And that's, you know, that's just how it is. And they want to put it on Jacksonville. And, you know, I just think Jacksonville needs to weed out. And we talked about it before, how they draft, who they draft, what they do. C.J. Henderson, rookie debut, gets an interception. I want to shout out Andrew Wingard, safety on the team. They get rid of Ronnie Harrison. Andrew Wingard's in the safety unit. He gets an interception on Phillip Rivers in the game that helps solidify the win. And a big time, he's not a rookie, but I just wanted to mention him. And a big time shout out to the rookie debut of Laviska Shenault Jr., who got that TD, the second touchdown. And then, you know, how about Keelan Cole Sr. going from the left side to the right side of the field, just hitting that diagonal route, and Gardner Minshew seeing that nobody picked him up. This guy ran through defenders and just turned around wide open on the right side of the field. I remember being there in the stadium looking at that side of the field when you see those walk-in touchdowns, and he turns around, he looks, and Gardner hits him on the money, and he goes in for that touchdown and solidifies the win for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, I mean, this team did a tremendous job, and nobody gave them credit. At the end of the game, when they proved that they could win the game, what was the article that they wrote on ESPN? Jaguars stun Colts. It's week 1. It's week 1. It's not like they're 1-7. It's week 1. Who's stunning anybody on? I mean, maybe, you know, I don't know. But, you know, you can say what you want to say. I mean, I guess if the Browns beat the Chiefs, you could say that was stunning. But, you know, ultimately, we live in a world where people push narratives. And sometimes they're right and sometimes they're wrong. And you got to learn how to get off of one when you're wrong. I haven't been right about everything, but I'm willing to see it and go, wow, that team proved me wrong. I thought the Cleveland Browns were going to be good the last 2 years, and they weren't. So this year, I'm not saying a lot about it because I don't want to be wrong 3 times, Cleveland. I don't know y'all in Cleveland, but, you know, they got a lot of talent. They're just not winning games. To look around the NFL really quick, PJ, Aaron Rodgers, this is another guy. In fantasy football, people are drafting him in the 7th round, in the 9th round. This used to be a 2nd-round pick. Some people made him the first quarterback that came off of the board in fantasy football. I'm getting the notion people think he's washed up. He's toward the end of his career. He comes out, throws for almost 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Are you surprised that people have stopped? I don't want to say they've stopped, but that people have given less respect to Aaron Rodgers the longer he's been in the NFL?
Well, that's my second home in Milwaukee, and all my bros up there were hooping and howling for Rodgers. Look, Rodgers is a prima donna. Okay, he's not a Gardner Minshew kind of guy. Rodgers needs to control things. He needs to have things his way. That's why him and McCarthy just didn't see head-to-head there in the last couple of years that McCarthy was there. But make no mistake, he is a very talented man and very smart. And he showed why he's talented and smart because he shredded the defense. I mean, he did a wonderful job. Rodgers is a difficult guy to figure. He's kind of a loner. He doesn't have his honey anymore because he and Danica Patrick broke up. So maybe that's what turned him around. I don't know. Maybe he needed his honey to play better. But anyway, he doesn't have his honey anymore. And he knows the game inside and out. He's just like Brady or Drew Brees. These guys are masters. They know what they're doing. And if their coach gives him the latitude to make audibles at the line of scrimmage or maybe check off and do some things, he most of the time will make the right decisions. There's nothing wrong with Aaron Rodgers. He's not washed up. Hell, he's not even mid-30s for crying out loud. And Brady and Brees are playing in their 40s. I mean, Rodgers isn't washed up. He just can be a little bit of a jerk sometimes. But that's the way he is. I mean, he's not going to woof and woof if he wins a lot. He's not going to woof and woof when he's losing a lot. So, he's pretty even keeled. He's got a hell of a team around him, and I want to see him keep going. Absolutely.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers doing his thing. Russell Wilson had a terrific day as well. Monday Night Football. Saquon Barkley got outran by Ben Roethlisberger. The Titans were quiet, even though they got a win. The Broncos were quiet. What did you think about Monday night's doubleheader? I could tell you in fantasy football, I had a bunch of Titans and Saquon Barkley, and in my brain, and I know long enough from playing fantasy that you can't go, oh, I got this victory because all I need is 10 points. I'll get it. But I thought I would get it from Saquon, and I did not. What did you think about the underwhelming offensive presences in Week 1's Monday Night Football doubleheader?
I couldn't watch the second game, Daniel. I can't stay up that late. But I watched a little bit of the Steelers game, and Roethlisberger looked like he's lost some weight. He moved around pretty good. Boy, he's a hell of a beast to try to get down. I mean, he's always been the kind of guy that hangs in the pocket. Guys are hanging off him. He's still standing up and trying to compete up at. But that's Roethlisberger. He can will a team to win. He's not like a Rodgers. Rodgers he's execute perfectly. I mean, Roethlisberger just is a beast. I mean, he will do anything to try to get a complete pass or a run. It was a good game, all right. But I'll tell you one thing. I think that Daniel Jones, is it for New York?
Yep.
This kid's going to be a good football player. He showed me a lot of poise. He's got a hell of an arm. He's going to be a good football player. Unfortunately, they didn't have very good game plan going against the Roethlisberger boys. So I watched as much as I could before I fell asleep, and then read the next morning about it. But it was okay. And the second game, I no way. I don't even know who won that game. But I was just too tired. I can't stay up that late, Daniel.
No, and I mean, and that's the thing. That's the tough thing about the doubleheaders is how late these games are on and how long you have to stay up to really get a full feel of it. You got to be up until at least midnight. We're hanging out here with Papa Joe, PJ, here with us every single Thursday in hour number 1 at least from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. PJ and I are going to take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, we will be discussing the Big Ten's return. oh my gosh, maybe we should play football. Again, it's like the Big Ten was Steve, and I'm just coming up with a random name. So the Big Ten was Steve, and Steve says to his buddies, we're not going to the party, right? We're not going to the party, which is college football this year. We're going to wait it out, and if we don't go, nobody's going to go, because we're the cool kids on campus, and they can't do it without us. Then Steve gets that text message, and, oh, man, that party looks hip. Oh, wow, those people are jumping into the pool. Oh, man, that's happening. Oh, my God, Stacy's there. And then he sees somebody talking to Stacy, and Stacy's the trophy. Like, that's what, Stacy's the college football playoff. And I'm not saying women are trophies. I'm making an analogy. Let's be real. In a PC world, I know I have to preface everything. But, we could say a man was the college football trophy. Whatever. But Steve sees Stacy in a picture and goes, how's Tim talking to Stacy? How's Brent talking to Stacy? What am I going to do? So now they want to come to the party because the Big Ten realized that they showed their cards and said, we're not going to play. And how are they going to do this without us? How's college football going to look without us? Is it even going to happen? And guess what? It has happened. The ACC happened. The SEC is getting ready to happen. The American Athletic Conference is happening. So they are now jumping back in. They're rushing to the party. They're hoping they can get there. Well, everything is still going good. Well, the food is hot and the drinks are cold. They're running to the party. And we'll talk about it right after this fast break. Here where sports meets life.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, hanging out here with you where sports truly meets life. And, of course, we are on Facebook Live as well, Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, and we appreciate you being here with us on the broadcast. PJ, we know that there is something interesting that is happening in the world of college football, and that is the fact that the Big Ten has, they were strong with, we're not playing, we're not going to do it, it's not going to happen, we're doing this for safety, it's never going to, and now they're coming back right after my birthday on October 24th. What are your thoughts on the Big Ten?
Well, I guess they caved into the pressure, I guess. The Big Ten makes an awful lot of money on TV rights and advertising and things like that. And if you're going to make a decision like you did, and you're going to stand by it, you have to stand by it. I mean, you're going to have to say, well, look, we're going to have to adjust our budgets. You know, we're not going to be making the money we have. We don't want the kids to get sick on campus. They got all sorts of things that they had to do, make up. And of course, once the football got played by some of the conferences, the SEC hasn't kicked in yet. I think Florida's got another 2 weeks before they play. So, you know, I got to give a lot of credit to their quarterback Fields. I think Fields is the one that started this deal by coming up with some type of protest and a write-in ballot or something like that. And he got, you know, a couple 100,000 signatures on a ballot.
Yeah.
So, you know, he sort of led, you know, and you like to see that from your quarterback especially. And what it did, it put the pressure on some of the parents. Some of the parents got pissed off. They started calling the athletic director, started calling the president. The donors started calling in. The big henchmen from the schools that donate all this money started calling. Well, maybe there is a chance we can play. Why don't you guys sit down and figure it out, and let's see if we can come up with something. So they did. They caved in. I mean, you know, when you, after looking at it, was at Iowa State last week, and it looked terrible against Louisiana Lafayette, and then they were supposed to be one of the better teams in the Big Ten. And, you know, after watching that, they're saying, God, we got to do something. We got to get our name back up there. All of a sudden, the first poll comes out, and there's no Big Ten and no Pac-12 teams in it. Florida's number 5 and hasn't played anyone yet because of it, they had to withdraw their name. So, you know, they're looking at it and saying, man, we can't do this. You know, look, Ohio State's one of the best teams in the nation. We got to be up there. We got to be number 1 or 2 in the polls. We got to do this. We got to do that. Never did they say anything about the safety of the kids. All they thought about was the money. Money, money, money. And that's the name of the game. And when you got a budget as big as Ohio State's and the Big Ten, those teams make a lot of money in the Big Ten just like any other major team in a major conference. And they decided that, look, they just can't stand on the sideline anymore, no pun intended. But it's just not, it's just, they just caved is what they did.
In the words of one of my favorite rappers of all time, Lil Wayne, the money is the motive. So we have a situation where they will be coming back the weekend of October 24th after the presidents and the chancellors unanimously voted to resume competition. They're saying, you know, as they look at it, citing daily testing capabilities and a stronger confidence in medical information. Now, each team will try to play 8 games in 8 weeks, and the Big Ten championship would be on December 19th. Now, the Big Ten would complete its season before the December 20th selection day for the college football playoff. Penn State Athletic Director Sandy Barber said the Big Ten agreed to have no fans attending football games this season. So there's something to be said about that. Obviously, that's following suit with a lot of places. Wisconsin Athletic Director Barry Alvarez said the schedule is going to be released later on this week, so we could have something from the Big 12 very soon. We heard from Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh said, "Great news today. Over the past month, I could sense the anticipation from our players and coaches, and I'm thrilled on their behalf that they will have a chance to play a 2020 season. Stay positive, test negative, let's play football." And I think that, honestly, Jim Harbaugh, he came up with a great tagline. Stay positive, test negative, let's play football. I think that's a great line. We go on to the Big 12, the Big 10 on August 11th had postponed their season. When we go back and look at everything here, and then the presidents and chancellors voted 11-3 to postpone, with only Nebraska, Ohio State, and Iowa saying that they wanted to proceed. So a great thing to see here. The Big Ten's daily rapid testing program will start on September 30th on all 14 campuses. Test results must be completed and recorded prior to each practice or game. Student-athletes who test positive for corona through point of contact daily testing would require a polymerase chain reaction PCR test to confirm the results of the POC test. Each Big Ten team will designate a chief infection officer to report data about testing to the league. which will make decisions about practice and competition based on team positivity rate and population positivity rate. Football players who test positive for COVID-19 must wait at least 21 days to return to competition and will undergo what's called a quote-unquote comprehensive cardiac testing before being cleared by a cardiologist designed by each university primarily for that purpose. Concerns about myocarditis, which we brought up here on the show, thanks to Bob Holliday of WRALSportsFan.com, who really started the discussion here on Wake Up Call. The myocarditis, inflammation of the heart muscle caused by viral infections. They're going to be looking at that. They will use a color-coded system, green, orange, and red, for both team positivity rates and population positivity rates. If a team in the Big Ten's positivity rate exceeds 5%, or the population's positivity rate exceeds 7.5%, the team must pause practice and competition for at least 7 days. If the team's positive rate is between 2 and 5%, or the population's positivity rate is 3.5 to 7.5%, the team must proceed with caution and enhance COVID-19 prevention. So a lot of stuff going on here. Dr. Jim Borchers, head team physician at Ohio State and co-chair of the Return to Competition Task Force Medical Subcommittee, said, quote, everyone associated with the Big Ten should be very proud of the groundbreaking steps that are now being taken to protect the health and safety of our student athletes and surrounding communities. The data we are going to collect from testing in the cardiac registry will provide major contributions for all 14 Big Ten institutions as they study COVID-19 and attempt to mitigate the spread of the disease among wider communities, end quote. He went on to say, quote, we're trying to rapidly identify anyone that may have the virus and immediately remove them from their population. Just like everything in medicine, it's not like we invented this, but we investigated it and feel very comfortable with that approach moving forward. And we know that if we can test daily with rapid testing in these small populations of teams, we're very likely to reduce infectiousness inside practice and game competitions to near 100%. We can never say 100%, but we feel very confident that with that approach, we'll be able to make our practice and competition environments as risk-free as we possibly can with this testing approach, end quotes. So, a lot of great stuff going on here, a lot of great news, and the other thing that's being called a game changer was ensuring the Big Ten, every Big Ten school can conduct cardiac MRI screenings for myocarditis. So that's another thing here. Antigen testing detects proteins in the virus and can detect a level of virus that is thought to be below the level of infectivity. So there's a lot of stuff on the science side. President Trump tweeted out, great news. Big Ten football is back. I should do it as him. I might as well do that. I haven't done it in a while. So, totally great news. Big Ten football is back. All teams to participate. Thank you to the players, coaches, parents, and all school representatives. Have a fantastic season. It is my great honor to have helped. So he put it out there that he helped. He was a part of it. Alvarez of Wisconsin said, quote, he talked to the commissioner, speaking on Trump. He also went on to say that he said, quote, one of the things he did was make saliva tests available and show how returning to football in the Big Ten was important to him. How much of a factor he was, I think he drew attention to Big Ten football and had a solution, end quote. The Big Ten now joins the ACC, the Big 12, and the SEC, and the Pac-12 is sitting out here and doesn't have any plans as of right now. So I know that's a lot of information, PJ, but President Trump's involved. The teams are talking about it. You got people on the science end of things that feel good about this. So it's not just, people trying to make money, but the actual science side is going, hey, this could be a good thing. So what are your thoughts on the fact that the Big Ten is returning to football on October 24th?
Well, as I stated earlier, they just caved into the money. I don't care what they're saying about the science end of it. They can fluff it up all they want. The problem I have with their schedule is that they're only playing 8 games. Now, are they going to be included in the football poll every week, even if they're only playing 8 games? Are they going to be included into the conversation for the championships at the end of the year by only playing 8 games when the rest of the teams are playing 10 and 11, sometimes 12 games? The ACC's playing 12 games. So, how can you compare that and be fair? So Ohio State goes 8-0, but they're going to be able to play Clemson, who may be 11-1 or 11-0 or something like that, who deserves to be in a championship game. And Ohio State has only played 8 games. So, I guess you'd have to say kudos to them for finally getting off the fence and saying something that positive, that it's worthwhile. I still worry about the kids, And I said it before on the show for last month. If the kids can't come on campus to go to class, there shouldn't be any fall sports around at all. Florida had to postpone 2 fall sports just yesterday. The cross country and lacrosse or something like that. They had to shut it down because the kids came back positive. So I don't know. Maybe these Big Ten teams up there probably have 100-man rosters. I wouldn't be surprised. That's pretty close to it at least. So if they got 8 or 10 kids that have to sit out, they can just plug another guy in. But I don't think it's apples and apples is not going to sit right with the rest of the country if they're only going to play 8 games.
And the thing is, and the reality of it all is, we know, my answer to that question, PJ, is that it's already unfair, it's already lopsided, and it already makes no sense. So, right. We got the Big 12 is playing 9, the SEC is playing 10, the ACC is playing 11, the American Athletic had their normal schedule, and then you were allowed to schedule teams out of conference if you wanted to. So everybody's going to have somewhat of a different schedule. Some are playing non-conference, some are not. So it's going to be really, really difficult for the college football playoff to figure this out. But if I had to look into a crystal ball, I'll say they'll probably pick Clemson, Alabama, another SEC school, and somebody else like they always do. So, it's probably going to be the same. PJ, before we hop out of this conversation, I do want to take a look and make our picks here. So, and I want to let you know that Meatball number 1 said, everyone following the SEC as usual. Go Gators. So,
that's right.
Yeah. So, and it's fine. The ACC was the first to the schedule, but the ACC and the SEC said we're gonna do what we can to get this done, and now other schools and conferences following suit. So, Papa Joe, we take a look at our games here, and some people already got my thoughts on a few of these, but I want to get your thoughts on them, and then I'll circle maybe 1 or 2 more here. What is your thought on Syracuse at Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh, mind you, has now been included in the top 25, right at the bottom of the top 25.
Well, I looked at Syracuse this last weekend. I caught them a little bit playing North Carolina. They just didn't look like they were ready to play, and maybe Coach Babers has probably got to blame for that. But I think he's probably going to have them fired up a little bit more, and I'm sure that the news in Syracuse is that they've been practicing all week and hitting hard. I want to see Syracuse win. I'm not sure they will, but I want to say Syracuse just because I'm from Syracuse.
Yeah, and people know my thoughts, and I'll be doing my pregame show. For those of you that want to know the pregame show, make sure you stay close to Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, Twitter at CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. My pregame is right before the game, obviously, and my postgame is immediately following the game. For away games, it's immediately following, and with the protocol and still trying to figure out what we're going to do for home games, I'll let you know that information. But pre- and post-game of every Syracuse football game this season you can find on Facebook.com/live now, DT. And definitely would appreciate having you there. Thank you to everybody that joined our pre- and post-game impromptu. The amount of people that jumped on it, we didn't even promote it, and the amount of people that showed up was incredible. So thank you so much for that, and more than anything, thank you for the quality of person that showed up to that. So I'm going with Pittsburgh in this game, and I know that Syracuse is a team that's trying to figure things out and get it right, but Pittsburgh seems to have Syracuse's number more often than not. And, when it comes down to it, Syracuse looked all kinds of ugly in that first game. They got a lot of stuff to figure out on offense. Defense looked great. Offense looked very suspect. And I'm not ready to give them a victory seeing that offense after week 1. I know it's only been 1 week, but it looks like a continuation of last season. And they have a new offensive coordinator, so that should not be happening. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh in this game because I can't see Syracuse taking down the firepower of Pittsburgh, especially they're on the road. This is a team that had Notre Dame on the ropes last year, Pittsburgh did. So I'm going with the Pittsburgh Panthers. I think they got too much in the tank, and they've had Syracuse's number way too often. Miami at Louisville, PJ. This is a matchup of two top 20 teams. What do you have for this one?
I like Miami because I think they have more athletes. I was impressed the way they played last week. Their coach down there is doing a heck of a job, as I mentioned last week. All he's got to do is recruit around the Miami area. He can fill up 3 football teams. They have a heck of a program down there in South Florida. And if the kids don't want to leave the state or leave anywhere, they can stay right there and play football and stay with grandma. So I like them. I like them a lot.
Yeah, I like Miami as well in this matchup. Their ability to run the ball was obviously huge with Cameron and company doing what they did with the Hurricanes, and I don't know. I mean, I respect Louisville. I think Scott Satterfield's done a tremendous job. He just got there to Louisville and already having a huge effect on the team in a positive way. They definitely made the right move with him and with Chris Mack for men's basketball, taking him from Xavier, taking 2 programs that could have been in shambles, and they're anything but right now on the better side of things. So that's good stuff. But I think Miami's going to get the victory ultimately in this one. PJ, I got to ask you about a really difficult game. I asked Julian Wiggum about it yesterday. This game is very treacherous. I'm very scared for the ranked team that has to play in this game. So I'm just going to come out and say it. This is a very, very tough game, and I don't know who's going to win it. The Citadel at Clemson. What do you have?
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness gracious! I haven't read anything about that at all. But
I'm kidding.
Citadel,
I'm kidding.
Citadel. Maybe they can bring their soldiers down out of the stands and play against Clemson. It'll be a laugher. We know that's going to be a laugher. But I thought that. I thought that Clemson would go out of conference and play some tough teams, and this is a true cupcake. If you want to denote this as a cupcake, it's a true cupcake. I feel bad. I wonder how much they're going to get for playing this game. That's a private school up there, and they're run by the government, and I wonder they're probably going to get $1 million for playing this game. Don't you think?
All I'm going to tell you is you said cupcake, and I'm hungry. And then the second thing after that is I will play Clemson gladly for $1 million. So why wake up call? I'll field a team. I'll have the wake up call team to face off against Clemson for $1 million. Why not? Why not? But no, the real game that I want to ask you about is a game that was supposed to be played a couple seasons ago, but due to hurricane season, it didn't happen. UCF at Georgia Tech. What do you have for this one?
Boy, Georgia Tech They look like a good football team against a really poor Florida State team. Florida State is they got some culture problems up there, some really cultural problems, and I don't know what else to say other than that. I mean, they should not have lost that game, especially playing at home.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech is not as bad as Florida State. Let them play, but I do like Georgia Tech in this game.
You're going Georgia Tech. I'm going with UCF. I think UCF's going to get the victory. I think this is going to be one of my favorite games to watch of the day. And next to watch it, Syracuse and Pittsburgh. This is probably the one that's going to have my most my biggest attention. I would have to say in this. So Syracuse plays at noon, and then UCF and Georgia Tech play on ABC at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. This will probably command the most attention from me, definitely in this. And outside of that, there's been other games postponed. BYU and Army got postponed. Virginia and Virginia Tech got postponed as well. So not a lot else to write home about. South Florida, we'll talk about another Florida team. South Florida is playing at Notre Dame. They, in the 11th hour, came up with this schedule where they will play Notre Dame a bunch of times, including this season, at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. What do you think about South Florida at Notre Dame?
I think South Florida's got a shot. To me, Notre Dame is overrated every single year. I don't care who's playing, who's the coach, whatever. They're overrated every year. I think South Florida has the athletes to stay on the field with them. I don't think they'll win, but I'd like to see them win. I want to see what kind of competition that they can have against a Notre Dame team that alleged is supposed to be one of the better teams in recent memories again. Yeah. So they got to prove it on the field to me. Until such time, I'm going to go with the underdog. So
you're going to go with USF or you're going to go with Notre Dame?
USF.
Oh, okay. Going to go with USF in this. I do think, like you, I do think they do have a shot. I do. And, they got their first ever chance at a victory. They got it. And that being, under their new head coach who came from the Dabo Sweeney coaching tree. So good stuff for USF to start off with. They're definitely going to get tested with Notre Dame. And a great game for the American Athletic Conference to showcase themselves if they can hang in this one and do something positive. So with that being said from Papa Joe, I want to let everybody know that last week we had our games right. And so we picked North Carolina over Syracuse. We had that game right. And the one we had wrong was Florida State. Papa Joe and I both agreed on all the games, so we were not correct with the Florida State one over Georgia Tech. I think that was probably a normal thing for some people, and we did pick Miami over UAB. So the only one we got wrong was FSU, and that's because they haven't been able to get it done. So we're going to have to talk to Miss Mary and see what she has to say about the grand scheme of things. But as always, PJ, I appreciate you. I look forward to talking with you soon, and I hope that you all stay safe down there in my second home of Florida.
Okay, Daniel. Good luck. Bye-bye.
Take care. And coming from Papa Joe, we're going to take a quick step aside for a fast break. When we come back, Enrique A. Cruz Jr. will rejoin Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You know him just a few weeks back. He came on here and was a part of the show as a recruit. Now he is coming on the show for the first time ever as a Syracuse commit. We'll talk with him about that and so much more right outside of this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets life.
It's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carbolite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carbolite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat Family-Friendly Sports Pub and Restaurant.